Welcome to the Walnut Log Studio. Today we're going to be doing some hand thread chasing. We're using 16 TPI thread chasers and we'll be working on a piece of clear acrylic. I'm going to make a pill box. It's in the shape of a pill. And we'll be doing the female threading first, and then we will do the male, and in the second video we will finish the box itself. So stick around. We're going to have some fun. Hey, wood turning can be a lot of fun, but you need to work safe. Wear eye protection, protect your lungs, use an air filter, use a face mask. Understand you're working with sharp tools, or you should be, and know where all the moving parts on your equipment are. Have fun. In this video, we're going to be doing some hand thread chasing as we make a pill-shaped pill box. The material that we're using is clear acrylic. I have a rod, several feet worth, and it's about 1.5 inches in diameter to begin with. Starting with the roughing gouge, we are getting it smoothed down straight. I'm currently just holding the piece in the jaws of my Supernova 2 Infinity, and once we get it roughed down, we need to put a tenon on one end, pull the tailstock, flip it around, and secure it in the jaws of the chuck. After finishing roughing out the blank, we're going to part it off. I'm not measuring on this one, just kind of eyeballing and keeping in mind that the finished product is supposed to look like a pill capsule. So there will be two parts joined in the middle with a threaded connection. Time to square off the end of one piece, and we will use a Forstner bit to drill the center hole, getting ready to start chasing the female threads on this project. Okay, here you see me using a small hollowing tool to actually get into the bottom of the socket and make a relief groove. This relief groove allows the thread chaser the ability to leave the threads before hitting the base of the socket. By doing that, we don't run the risk, or we reduce the risk of stripping out the threads we've already made by not allowing the thread chaser to get jammed up on its own threads. Okay, next we're getting ready to do the female threads on the inside of the socket. We're just going to go ahead and consider this piece the lid. I have chamfered the inner edge of where I'm wanting to start the threads, and that will allow me to start chasing at an angle that I'm not trying to force the tool into the socket straight away. You can see the tool at an angle as it's entering the socket. And what I'm trying to do is catch the edge of the material and allow the rotation of the material to draw the chasing tool in, which allows you to create the groove. I'm running at about 300 RPM. You really do need to be able to dial your lathe down in order to do thread chasing by hand. The slower the speed, the more you're able to find the rhythm and carry the threads inside or outside, as the case may be. You'll also notice I'm using a handheld tool rest, which is being supported on top of my standard tool rest. The reason I'm using the handheld tool rest is that tool has a hook at the end, which allows me to apply pressure to the chasing tool, drawing it into the cut, controlling the direction of the threads. I have less chance of the tool bouncing around inside the socket, less chance of the threads being erratic. I have more control, more precision, and it's a much better way to chase these internal threads. Now, I don't know if you can hear this, but there's actually a cadence that I'm working with. And the rhythm of the lathe and the cutting, if you can hear that, if you can get the rhythm, the tool will basically pull itself across the threads and do the work for you. All you have to do is get your hands and body into the rhythm. And on this one, it is, we'll wait for it here. Here it comes. See if you can hear it. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. If you can nail the rhythm, if you can nail the motions in time with the rhythm, you can absolutely chase threads by hand. It's not that hard. It takes some practice, but it's not that hard. The lid is done. We're moving on to the body of the box. Because it had the tenon on the end, we were able to easily put it back into the jaws, truing up the outside. And yes, I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to use a Forstner bit to hollow out the inside. Before we can get the lid to fit, before we can chase the male threads, we need to cut a spigot. And this is it's a slow process. You go a little at a time. You're trying to get a fit that is close. You do not want the spigot to be able to fit inside the recess of the lid. At that point, it's too small, and you've wasted time and material. Take your time. Work the spigot down just a little bit at a time. I'm only working with about 1/4 of an inch here and trying to get it to almost fit snugly. I want some extra material that will allow me the ability to use the thread chasing tool to not only cut the threads but bring the spigot down to the proper size. And you'll be able to watch that process here in just a little bit. I'm pretty satisfied with the way the spigot is fitting, and now we need to make a relief cut at the base of the spigot. Again, this will allow me to stop my threading cuts without stripping out the threads that I've already made. That instead of having the threads run the tool into the base of that spigot and hit that hard shoulder, I have just a little room, about a millimeter and a half worth of room, where I can remove the tool at the end of my chasing cut and not lose the threads that I've already made. Again, we have a chamfer on the end, and we're taking very easy cuts, very gentle cuts, trying to find that rhythm, trying to work the tool across the surface. We're running at 300 RPM on this as well. That's just where I like to run it. You can go, the book says you can go anywhere from 150 to about 400. Alan Batty, the king of hand thread chasing, he had a tendency to run at 300. I'm going to run at 300. It works just fine. Now, because this is acrylic, we're putting up a lot of shavings. You'll see me with a brush just trying to get the debris out of my way. As you test fit, make sure all of your thread channels on both pieces are clean, or you run the risk of breaking out the work that you've already done, and that would be bad. It might seem like this is taking a bit too long. Well, in order to err on the side of caution, I made my spigot a little bit thick, and I'm needing to use the thread chasing tool to get my diameter perfect. But for me, it pays off at the end, because I end up at the end of this video with a perfect fit. It threads on easily, there's no binding, there's no jamming, and the two surfaces meet at a very, very good fit when the lid is screwed on tight. Okay, this is the final adjustment in my threading cut, and you'll be able to see this lid just goes on without any effort. The screws right on down, and I gotta say, I was pretty pleased with the way this worked out.